The following is a presentation of the Mat Talk Podcast Network.
It's the return of Short Time Shots, a mostly nightly collection of scores and more from around the world of wrestling. I'm your host, Jason Bryant, and the only bad jokes I know are dad jokes. If you grew up in the 80s, you might like my references. It's been just under a year since this show last made its appearance. Things kind of got a little dicey around the household and had to put Short Time Shots on hold. But it is back for 2019-2020, going top results format, going what's on the docket. Then I'm going with the top 6, possibly top 6 news stories from the day that you can get on the newsletter. And I'm also giving you a plug on the network. So that's the format. Let's roll right into it. The top results. The first Division I dual meet of the year came and went in sunny San Diego, which I believe is Spanish for something involving a whale. The 6th ranked. Yeah, I'm going to just keep rolling here. The 6th ranked Wisconsin Badgers opened up year 2 of the Chris Bono era with a 31-8 win over Fresno State at the AFC Duals, which is not a West Coast version of KFC. You know how Carl's Jr. is the Western version of Hardees? Yeah, well, sorry to disappoint. Seth Gross returned to action with a fall at 133 pounds over NCAA qualifier Gary Joint in probably the Duals' most notable match. Wisconsin's ranking as a dual meet squad might be a little lofty because Unranked Army West Point pushed the Badgers to the limit as the Badgers escaped 16-15 as Trent Hillger closed things out again for UW with the victory at heavyweight. Navy also beat Fresno State 25-9 before the night concluded with Army West Point beating Fresno State 26-10 on the Battle on the Midway. It was on a boat. This episode was actually held up so we could get the final score of that duel and not just fake it. November 7th is not the date of this show. It's number 7. I can't read my own typing. Number 7, Minnesota opened up its season with a 28-9 win. Man, I'm just going to go these at one take just so you know to minimize the editing time. Yeah, 28-9. You're going to get all the flaws and fury with me this season. 28-9 over CSU Bakersfield at Maturi Pavilion. The duel saw Manny Rivera return his old stomping grounds. The top match there was freshman Brayton Lee holding on to beat Russell Rohlfing at 149. Elsewhere in Division I, Chattanooga topped SIU Edwardsville, a.k.a. SIUE, which is pretty much how they're going to be branded from here on out. So SIUE 29-14, and Cleveland State beat a pair of Division III teams, John Carroll 27-14, and Case Western Reserve 51-1. Yes, that happened. In Division II, Davison Elkins won the school's inaugural dual meet, beating Alderson Broaddus 36-12. Falls were registered at 125 pounds by Shawn Moore and 157-pounder John Finnerty. The Senators, yes, Senators, a new one to throw out there, jumped out to a 36-0 lead in an impressive debut. Hat tip to head coach Jerry Boland. Know that guy from his years at coaching at Camden Catholic in New Jersey, as they used to come to the Virginia Duals. Matter of fact, the school still comes to the Virginia Duals year in, year out. Number 1 Pitt-Johnstown opened up its season beating East Stroudsburg 38-8. Also over in Division III, Brockport blanked Penn State Behrend 50-0. UW-Platteville edged Cornell College 18-16. Isaac Weigel's fall at 125 proved to be the key bonus point win there for Mike Darone's Pioneers. My apologies to Jim Heath. No, Jim Heath, you don't know him, but it's an inside joke, and he's not going to like any such Platteville references. In the NAIA, Jamestown, the one in North Dakota, beat York, the one in Nebraska 42-7, and Midland 48-3. Overseas, no Americans will be wrestling for medals on the first day of Greco-Roman competition at the U23 World Championships in Budapest, Hungary. But on the women's side, Kayla Miracle, a 4-time WCWA champion during her time at Campbellsville University, finished with a silver medal in women's freestyle at 62 kilos. What's on the docket? Well, on Saturday, November 2nd, we have action. That's a typo I'm going to type up and stop, hit, delete. We have action at a number of opens, including Michigan State, Jamestown, and Rochester. Neither of those last two are in New York. As well, we'll finish off action at the Ithaca Invitational in Division III. Always a good start to the year there up in New York. There's duels across the country, with the big one coming in Blacksburg as number 9 Missouri. These are NWCA rankings, by the way. Dual meet rankings, the only dual meet voting poll we have in wrestling, the poll of record, whatever. Anyway, number 9 Missouri faces number 16 Virginia Tech at noon. LIU, that's Long Island University, makes its return to Division I wrestling as the Sharks are in a quad with Rutgers and Centenary, the one in New Jersey, and the aforementioned Mountain Cats of Pitt-Johnstown. Why do I say makes its return? Well, LIU used to have a wrestling team Yeah, before they merged with LIU Post, which used to be CW Post, which was Division II. Yeah, LIU has been a wrestling program at some point in Division I way back in the day, so it's not their debut, but it's kind of a return. Anyway, placing top 6, which is what I'm going to call from the newsletter. Placing top 6. So I don't know. I'm trying to come up with a name for it, but these are some of the. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I got 7 stories in placing from top 6. How the heck is this going to work? So these are the top 6 stories I'm dropping from the newsletter, and there's probably an upwards of 10 to 15 to 20 stories in this newsletter. I'll tell you how to do that here in a second, but. Willie Saylor from Flow Wrestling probably had the biggest nugget of news on the day, tweeting that Ohio State true freshman Greg Kirkfleet, a Minnesota native, fresh off getting hosed at the U23 World Championships, has hit the NCAA transfer portal. Couple that with the recent news that Kyle Snyder left Columbus to train at the senior level in State College. Buckeye fans' heads are pretty close to exploding. Thoughts and prayers to my man Dan Rancic. While Willie's tweet was deleted about 15 minutes later, Flow did repost the news shortly thereafter, obviously giving the red Flow Hawk or whatever it's called the impressions there. Andy Hamilton of Track Wrestling's Writing Time. Let's try that again. Andy Hamilton of Track Wrestling's Writing Time feature. Yeah, bad apostrophe usage there. His Writing Time feature discusses how injuries and the relaxed hardship rules from the NCAA have changed how wrestlers look at their seasons. Among those featured are Northern Iowa's Jacob Holschlag and Iowa's Mike Kemmerer, both All-Americans. Ed Gallo of Bloody Elbow features the college career of Edinburgh 4-time All-American Gregor Gillespie and why his credentials should be treated highly in the UFC. Ed's also written a book released this past summer on Notre Dame College's undefeated 4-time Division II champion Joey the Iceman Davis, or whatever he's called now in MMA. Ed's got some chops. Give his stuff a look. HawkeyeSports.com's Chris Brewer, a past winner of the National Wrestling Media Association's Division I SID of the Year Award, he pens a solid feature on Iowa redshirt freshman heavyweight Tony Cassiope. In a day where most of the content created by media relations offices centers around quick videos and easily shareable content, Iowa still does the well-written feature. This is no exception. By the way, do yourself a favor, go to HawkeyeSports.com, click on the roster for wrestling. I said roster in the show notes here, but yeah, look for the wild swath of hair in the back row. Then scroll and look for Jeremiah Moody on the roster page. He has now supplanted Lincoln McElravy as my favorite all-time Hawk. I don't know what this kid's deal is. I don't know him. I want to know him. I want him to be a co-host on any show I have in the future because just if a picture's worth 1,000 words, I want this guy to say 50,000 of them. Jeremiah Moody, you're my new favorite Hawkeye. In other news, the NAIA released its rankings prior to Thursday's competition, which college wrestling did not start Friday. It actually started in September with the California junior colleges. The women have been on the mats for about a month now, and the NAIA started earlier this week. So the NCAA was actually the last to start. So where's this college wrestling started today? Actually, the NCAA was the last to start today. Anyway, the story here is Grandview is ranked number 1 in the nation. In other news, water is wet. Speaking of Iowa, Iowa City's West High School, second Iowa City reference in the show. Iowa City's West High announced it was launching a girls wrestling team. This isn't in the newsletter, but I just saw the tweet and thought it was relevant enough to mention here. Finally, closing the news with more Iowa stuff, The Predicament continues its Inside the Rivalry series with a look at Jesse Sundell. On the network, the second part of my series, I'm actually the On the Network part. That's going to be something that if there's relevant on the Matt Talk Podcast Network that isn't in this particular daily news item, I'm going to throw it in here. So, on the network, the second part of my series focusing on the drop of St. Olaf Wrestling here in Minnesota is in the feed and featured on theguillotine.com. What happens when you throw out crap excuses for cutting a sport and you refuse to talk to the media? My wrath. You can get to read those stories and more from Matt Talk Online's daily wrestling newsletter. Sign up for free at matttalkonline.com/news and get the day's top stories from around the world in wrestling delivered to your inbox every morning for free. The Matt Talk Online daily wrestling newsletter is sponsored by Resolite. Short Time Shots, the show is sponsorless. Interested? You can give me a shout, or if you'd like to support the show and all of the on-demand audio offerings, free newsletters and historical research, and you want to get some of that cool compound gear while you're at it, maybe a draft glass or two, you can support this program by making a small monthly contribution to the network by going to matttalkonline.com/join the team. The Short Time Wrestling Podcast is proudly outfitted by Compound Sportswear. My man Cliff, he's awesome. Call up his crew. They give you everything you need. So that is the return of Short Time Shots here for November 1st, 2019. Actually, this is you're listening to this November 2nd. It's also NaPodPomo. Hold on. NaPodPomo. Yes, National Podcast Post Month. So you're going to see a lot of weird hashtags. But this is how Short Time Shots is going to return in this particular format. So we're going to go scores. We're going to go what you're looking at tomorrow. We're going to go with some news items. We're going to pitch how you can get those news items and such. And that is the deal. So trying to keep them short like it's initially founded, about 10 minutes. This is a little bit longer than 10 minutes because I'm explaining it to you. But follow me on Twitter at Jason M. Bryant or at Matt Talk Online to get all that news. But for now, remember, you've always got time for Short Time. And yes, you got them all. You got all my flubs. I hit record, one take. My wife's going to like the fact that this is a lot less work than it used to be. I'm JB. I'm out.